Good evening and welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Chris McAway, and also known as Double Denim, although rarely these days because my wife keeps complaining about the washing guys. But I'm delighted tonight to be joined by the best beard since Danny McGrain or Joe Ledley, and Kevin McCluskey,
Joe Ledley,
and and our very own Wizard of Oz, and Sean Conley. Welcome, gents. It's game night. Champions League, it's thankfully not one that you'd say we have to win. Although I think when you're a Celtic fan and you play for Celtic, I think every game's a must-win game. But we're through, and we've got a playoff game to look forward to. That said, still a few different permutations. It means that there's still a lot at stake in this match. No easy games at this level. I think this is one that, when the group was announced, probably up there with Dortmund, one that we maybe weren't quite looking forward to. However, it looks like it's a great atmosphere, good stadium, two good teams. We're coming off the back of a good result. We've had a little break as well. Sean, what's your immediate thoughts coming into this game? How are you feeling about it?
Well, I was actually quite negative the build up to this. I think a lot of the things that have been said, like specifically to say use the specific term "not risk" Carter Vickers, is a little bit white flag movement to me, and also the letting Keel go and Baye go after the young boys game as well suggests that we're not giving this game our full attention and full seriousness. I'm sure he'll be giving the message to the players that, let's go and try and win this game, but actions speak louder than words, and I think those three things actually tell me that we're not really taking this game as seriously as the other 7 games, and I'm a bit concerned in that sense.
Could be, as I said to Kev before we started there, said it could be a 4 rating on the Jim Moore couch scale tonight, potentially. That said, Kev, I mean, Sean makes a good point. We've let Kyogo go, we've let Baye go. Carter Vickers, we think, is, on the surface of it, looks like he could be rested or just not taking a chance on him. But with that said, we have Alistair Johnson maybe in a contender for getting a rest. He plays. We've got, largely outside of maybe our new signing Jota, who can't play in this game, but should hopefully be registered for the next match. We've got, otherwise what you'd expect to be close to a first team out there. What's your thoughts on it? Do you think we're taking the right approach in this game, or do you think the manager, who's not known for being pragmatic in certain games, do you think he's taking this seriously?
I think he will be taking it seriously. He's Brendan Rodgers. I think he takes every game seriously. As he said at the very top, the expectation from Celtic, from the fans, downwards or upwards, however you look at that, going into every game, is that we play to win. And I don't think tonight will be any different. I think we're going to go there. We'll have a game plan to try and win the game, but I also take Sean's points on board, and I kind of agree with it, that kind of the build up to this game, Carter Vickers being rested with the weekend in mind, allowing Kyogo to leave, allowing Baye to leave. There's a little bit of the goal at the start of the Champions League campaign was to qualify for the playoff round. That was the realistic goal. If we could get a top 8, that was the dream, but it was qualify for the playoffs. We've achieved that. We've done it with a game to spare. And it's a strange feeling going into this one, for me anyway, because I've been thinking about this. I don't want to lose the game, obviously. I would love us to win it. But there's a bit of me that would shrug my shoulders if we lose, unless we get a thumping, because it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Right? We're through. We've achieved the objective that we had at the start of the campaign.
Yep.
This is a little bit of a free hit. We can just go out there, try and play a game, get through the 90 minutes, and be prepared for the weekend, and knowing that we've got a playoff to look forward to. But yeah, Rodgers will take it seriously up to the point, and then we'll just see how it plays out, really.
Absolutely. I think that's all we can do. I'd agree. I mean, I think I spoke during the week, and people are probably fed up seeing me on this channel at the moment. I've been on it quite a lot recently, so hopefully I get a wee break over the next week or so. But I did say during the week, I said it's very difficult to associate a free hit when you support Celtic. You think it's every game we're going into, we should be aiming to win. I agree with you. I think the manager takes every game seriously. I think he'll be looking for at least a performance. At the same time, conscious of the fact that it's not the must-win game it might have been, which I think would have been a rating 20 on the Jim Moore couch scale. So I think maybe, well, it's probably a stretch to say this will be a game we can sit back, relax, and enjoy. I think the hope is, Sean, that we'll at least be competitive, maybe have a respectful showing, and there's opportunities for some of the guys coming in as well. I mean, look, you're irrespective of the fact of qualified or not, this is a stage where this team wants to be, right? We want to be playing teams like Aston Villa and various others we've encountered in the competition. So this is where we want to see guys step up and perform, even if they're just performing to showcase their skills, and it's less about the result. But you want a respectable performance tonight, don't you?
Well, you would hope it would show where the squad is at in terms of development and maturity. I do fear, though, that I feel I'm coming across so pessimistic. But when you look at, Kyogo's gone, so in Ida starts, fine, doesn't sound too big a drop off, a little bit. But the big issue here is that Cummings is the player that's coming off the bench, is the backup striker, right? Bailly gone, okay, he wasn't really starting that many minutes, he wasn't playing that many minutes anyway. But then who's coming off the bench? It's Adam Montgomery. By the looks of it, no Mitchell Frame there. And yeah, I guess that's the issue. And Nawrocki or Murray coming off for Scales or Taylor if they need to. I don't know, man. This is my concern. It's not the starting 11. Well, 10 of the starting 11 are relatively trustworthy and sound. And I'm not going to pick out the person who you think might be the 11th. I'm sure you can fill in that gap yourself. But yeah, it's more the drop in quality on the bench. Then the midfield's still solid, but yeah, that's my concern. If we don't, and obviously this speaks to today's the 29th of January in Scotland. It's the future in Australia. It's 30th of January. And I can tell you we've not signed anyone yet. And the transfer window closes in 3 days. So that's my concern. And obviously that we're talking about an isolated game. We're not talking about a transfer window. But that's going to... I wonder if Rodgers is going to end up reflecting, making a point post-match tonight about what's happened and what needs to happen.
Yeah, there's still some hours, but yeah, everybody who follows Sean on social media, make sure you tune in for his updates because he's ahead of the curve, clearly, in terms of recruitment. Let's just run through the team then, Kev. So we have Big Casper Schmeichel in goal, as we'd expect. Alistair Johnson, maybe a contender to be left out tonight. A rest, very important player for us. A few people felt maybe Tony Ralston might come in to play a part there. May still play a part at some point this evening. Liam Scales and Austin Trusty. We've seen them play before. We've seen them play before well in Europe, Kev. So potential there. And with Alex Valle departing, Greg Taylor was probably the most solid choice tonight. I think for left back. I don't think there was any chance anyone else was going to get the starting berth. How are you feeling about the back four there?
I think it's the best available back four that we've got. Absolutely. Well, back five if you include Casper in goals,
yep.
Who's been tremendous for us throughout the whole campaign, domestically and in Europe. I think it was James that might have mentioned it on the show this afternoon, again about his big save in the last minute last week against Young Boys, and just kind of the relief that brought to you. So we've got a top class keeper at the back there, so you have that strength to build from. Johnson, Trusty, Scales, Taylor it's the best four that's available at the moment, and it's the back four I think you have to play in a game like this. As much as we can maybe say it doesn't matter if we win, lose or draw because we've already achieved the objective, you don't want to lose and you definitely don't want to take a hiding, so play the best back line. You mentioned about Johnson maybe being a player in line to get rested. I'd do that at the weekend if you're going to do it. Give him the Champions League game. I know he's on a booking, which could have come into thinking for this game. And actually, I haven't put this bet on, but stick a $5 on him to get a booking today because Bailey, Rodgers, and Ramsey are all kind of lightning and tricky players that will be playing behind Watkins up front for Villa. But I would still have gone with him. I think he's a solid player for this level. Trusty and Scales, if they can give us an Atalanta type performance again, then we'll be absolutely happy. And I think they might have to because we could have a little bit of backs to the walls at times.
Yep.
And Taylor's now the only recognised left back on the books, so you've got to play him. I'm not going to throw Adam Montgomery into this game or Dane Murray at centre back to move Scales out there. So it's a strong back four. It's one that we know does it week in, week out domestically, and they've just got to be up for it today. And I'm sure they will because there's the added spice of it being that Battle of Britain type game, and I think there's a few of those boys will want to rise to that occasion.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. I mean, I think AJ is, he is a player that we definitely feel can operate at this level, but there is that booking hanging over him, and we know the way he plays. He's got that little bit of aggression. He's got that little bit of, sometimes last-ditch tackle in him as well, and time and discipline away everything tonight. Sean, moving on to the midfield then. I mean, I think that is what many people would view as our first choice midfield three, with Callum McGregor, Arne Engels, who's been on some good form recently, and Rio Hatate, who's kind of played himself back into that I guess perceived first choice three. But we also have Luke McCowan and Bernardo on the bench, which are not bad options to bring on. But you think that's the right midfield three to play? Is this a game for the oft scrutinised Hatate, for example?
Well, I think Hatate's started almost every Champions League game, if not every. I didn't actually check that one, so it's not a surprise in any sense. It's also positive that the midfield is probably the strongest unit, particularly in depth, of our team at the moment. Yeah, there's no real surprises there. Spoiler alert, like, I crawl out my pit about 5 minutes before this podcast starts, so I didn't actually have time to coming on live. This was a live reveal to me, this starting lineup. But I was typing as we were starting, and this is literally the starting 11. That there was nothing else really. There's no real mystery to here. Every now and again, you might get the old, who's starting on the wing, who's starting up front, but the team's very settled at the moment in terms of who is the first choice 11. We've seen it in Champions League games before, and with the weekend off with the Dundee game, I don't think there's any real surprises here. It was going to be the same team that you trusted against Young Boys last week. I will say we started excellently in the first half against Young Boys last week before kind of fading in the second half. So maybe, just maybe, the weekend off is going to work in our favour, because we have obviously had an insane run of games that we've not had in a January since the winter break was introduced. So maybe we'll see a bit more freshness from the midfield, than a bit more endurance. But I also think that there's going to be, I know it's a dirty word at the moment, but I think the approach will be pragmatic. I don't think players are going to be absolutely gunning it around the pitch like they were last week. I think they're going to pick and choose their moments to trigger the press. So maybe we can see that the midfield endure for a bit longer, and hopefully we'll see a bit of quality from them as well. I have to say, I don't watch the English Premiership that much, so I don't know that much about Aston Villa. I know Tielemans is a good player, but he's probably better than any of our midfield three. But there's a little Belgian backstory there, isn't there, between Tielemans and Engels? So it'll be interesting to see if your old man Tielemans is passing the torch to Engels. So it'll be a good opportunity for Engels to show if that's the case or not. Otherwise, he'll just get schooled by the older man.
Absolutely. Talking about surprises, we did do Sean a favour there. If anyone wonders why we were a couple of seconds late and going live, it's because we were very close to seeing Sean in his pants live on the bulletin.
I needed my tea, man.
So things that happen behind the scenes. That's all I'm going to say. No, thanks, Sean. I agree. I mean, I think that is certainly many people perceive that as being the strongest first three. But as I say, McCowan, Bernardo, we know the energy they can bring. We know that they can both perform. McCowan, for me, certainly has come in and looked good domestically. I think the more minutes he gets in the Champions League, it's just going to benefit him and us. So certainly looking forward to that. We move out then into the front three then. So starting on the wings. So I think Nicholas Kuhn pretty much picks himself at the moment. Absolutely been bang on form this season. Probably our most consistent player. Potential for him to show some magic tonight, Kev. On the other side, I would say expectations maybe a tad lower, but let's not denigrate the player. Yang is getting opportunities here, and we're seeing, I'm being generous here, we're seeing small flashes of potential with the player, good energy levels, but there's so much more we need to see from the player, isn't there? And I mean, getting an opportunity like this in the Champions League, even though we've qualified, surely there must be something the player can bring to the table tonight.
I'm not going to be as polite as you, Chris. I don't think Yang's good enough to be a Celtic player. I'll just say it how I think it is with him. I don't think he's good enough to be a Celtic player. don't think he's good enough to play at this level. And I really, really hope he goes and proves me wrong tonight and puts in a man of the match performance. But I think my money's safe to say that he probably won't. But who else are you going for there? You've got the choice of either, Young or Palma. Would you like the flu or pneumonia? Neither are good options, which is the least worst.
Pneumonia, Kev, is worse.
Wow.
Pneumonia. So then that's why Palma's on the bench then. But but there's no good option with them.
Lewis pneumonia.
So
that's going to stick, isn't it? I can see that one coming back. Lewis pneumonia.
Well, hopefully not for too much longer, and he'll be away plying his trade somewhere else, and we'll not need to be reminded of that. But like I say, I don't think either of them are good players. But the choice that the manager's got is between Yang or Palma. Yang is the one that has shown a little bit more than Palma recently, so he gets the nod. But I've got very low expectations of us getting much joy down our left-hand side. So you're going to have to look to Kuhn on the right, which has basically been how we've played for most of the season anyway. He's been the talisman up front. He's been the danger man. He's providing the goals and assists. And I hate to say it, it's a great stage for him to go and prove what he can do. Not trying to talk someone into a move, but that there's always interest in players like Nicholas Kuhn. We've probably got to embrace that. And for him, this is a big stage for him to go and prove what he can do. And then, through the middle, again, if Taylor's our only option at left back, Ida's our only option at centre forward at the moment, it has to be him. And I don't know if this works out in his favour now that there's less pressure on him. He's probably guaranteed, unless we bring someone in the next 3-4 days, he's guaranteed to be the number one striker till the end of the season, you would think. So maybe losing that bit of pressure of having to perform with Kyogo breathing down his neck could do him the world of good. And again, I think an Irishman going down south again in that atmosphere, he's going to want to prove something in front of that crowd.
Yes.
So you never know. He'll put himself about and put in a shift. I think he usually always does. It just doesn't always come off for him. But hopefully it does tonight.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Sean, what's your thoughts on that? Because, either if he's ever going to play on a stage that I'm sure when he signed that he wanted to prove himself on, there's never going to be less pressure on him than there is tonight, right? Because, okay, he's not been on form. We want to turn that around. I had a big moment in the last match. I appreciate there's a degree of luck in it, but, he was still heavily involved in getting us through the Young Boys of Bern game. He's got a real opportunity now. Kyogo is obviously gone. We won't label that point because it's too painful, frankly. But the fact is that Ida's got an opportunity to go out there and play without necessarily the pressure of the result being the most important thing. But Kev makes a good point. A lot of detractors when he was down at Norwich. A lot of people, questioning the sum spent on him when he did sign for us. But he's got. He's at this moment in time, he's the firmly established first choice striker. This is his chance, isn't it?
It's an interesting point, yeah. We'll certainly. The thing is, if we don't do well tonight, I don't think it will be put on his permanent records that he played poorly, right? But you're right, there is a chance tonight. Aston Villa, I think, have got 3 centre backs injured, so they've got a 21-year-old Bogard starting at centre back. So there's a, I don't want to call it a weak link because this is Champions League, and teams at that level have a lot of depth. When you have all that Premiership money, you can have really great players as your fifth choice. So I don't want to say it's a weak link, but certainly if you're looking across the Aston Villa team for something, it might be that. And I wonder if Ida, also still young, might identify that. And hopefully we can get the midfield and wingers to support him as well, because that's also a worry that he gets isolated. Yeah. And that's happened in the past, even in this season, for Celtic and Ireland, and Celtic in away games in Europe and for Ireland, where he's been isolated and then come in for some criticism after games. And I hope that doesn't happen tonight. But the criticism of him recently has not been in that type of game, even though that was an issue. And I wonder if that stuck with him. I don't know. I wonder, because he has been struggling for form and confidence since then. And these games where he was scoring chances easily last season. So maybe tonight's a good chance for him to to have a little refresher, maybe to do something at a higher level, a big ground and a big stage, and maybe that'll really kick him on. We'll see. I really hope that is the case. So if it goes the other way, I hope it doesn't affect him, and I don't think us as a fan base and the manager will hang it around his neck if it doesn't go well tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Keen to bring in some comments. I'm just going to bring a few up before we get on to predictions. We're getting closer to kick-off. A point that Eddie Marzala, welcome to the channel, brings in. Maeda hit with a 2-game ban. That was news that we saw earlier after sending off his red card in the last game. So not only does he miss out tonight, which is obviously a blow, but certainly I think the bigger blow is missing the first leg of the playoff game. So certainly work to do for Brendan. But then, as we've spoke about quite a lot this week, there's a certain superstar from Portugal who may cover that gap. Jungle Lion, not up first, but always there. Take a draw now. I think many people sharing that sentiment. I think if we get a good battling performance and would get a draw, I think many people would probably take that at the moment. Paddy Lavery, evening all, evening to you as well, sir. And the Slavering Cabbage, I beg your pardon, comes in. Come on, you boys in green. Villa 0, Celtic 2. I love that. I would take that as well. Tony Casti comes in. Hope Yang steps up. Come on, lad. Yeah, I mean, I think we've joked a little bit. We've applied some fairly harsh criticism, right? And I think much of it is due based on the performances. But once a player pulls on that shirt, guys, I mean, I think we will get behind them and we'll be willing them to absolutely make us eat our words. I mean, that's none of us would feel bad had that been the case. Franny Weldon comes in. Be odd watching my two teams go head to head tonight. I'm predicting 2-2. Come on, Franny. Come on. Nail your colours to the mast. But yeah, again, I think a battling 2-2 draw would be good. Slavering Cabbage comes in again. Just talk about Yang. Yang just needs to hit the byline. Remember to do something worse when he gets there. That does seem to be one of the criticisms, Kev, of Yang, is that he can do certain elements of the game pretty well. He's got good energy. He can run with the ball, but his use of the ball and his game intelligence seems to be what's lacking. That seems to be what we've observed in certain games. I mean, surely that's something that is kind of fundamental to playing at this level, right? So you're thinking, come on, these are the things you're going to need, and discipline's going to be key tonight, right?
Yeah, so when it comes down to Yang, I think he's a player that's he does have ability, but he's only got it up to a point. And for me, that point is it's up to the final ball. He doesn't seem to have it. And whether he tries to hit the byline, which is something that I think it looks like Rodgers tries to discourage with these wide players, he seems to want them to cut in field more. But whether he hits the byline and then tries to put something in, he doesn't know what his final ball should be. His crossing's not good enough. He doesn't have... like what Kuhn's got on the other side, he's got the ability to pick a pass as well. He can slip, play a through pass. He can cross. He can cut inside. He's got everything you want from a winger, and I think that's what probably makes Yang's deficiencies stand out a bit more, because you're going to compare him to the boy on the other side of the pitch, or the boy that he's replaced if he comes on for Kuhn in a game. So, yeah, he's going to have his best game in a Celtic jersey tonight because of the opposition that he's up against. I think he'll go up against, it would be Matty Cash, who I think is a fairly decent fullback.
No, I think it'd be Digne.
Or be Digne.
I think so.
So if he's up against Digne, I mean, both of them are pretty decent fullbacks. Digne actually had a poor game at the weekend. I watched the game against West Ham, but that was more when he went into left centre-back. But as a fullback, he's solid, as is Cash on the other side. So,
oh, no. Sorry, you might be right. It might be
Cash.
Sorry.
Be in the right.
It depends which side you play Kuhn and Yang on. Yeah.
Yeah. So regardless of which side it is, Yang's going to have to be on his game, and he's going to have to do things on a consistent basis tonight that he hasn't been able to do up till now in his Celtic career. He can do it tonight, though. Now, what a big confidence boost that could be, and it could be a moment that kickstarts his career at Celtic. It could be a moment that gives him loads of confidence, and he can go on and build from that. Really hope that's the case. But like I said, based on previous games, I'm not overly confident it will be. But like I said, I'd love him to go out and prove me wrong and be our man of the match.
Yeah, a few people in the comments, I think, sharing the sentiment. Chilpel comes in and says, I'd have preferred McCowan instead of Yang, but Brendan Rodgers seems to rate him. I think it may be a lack of choice at this point, to be honest, rather than rating, to be honest, Joe Pill. But let's.
Sorry, that was a point I think James again was raising today. Actually, either McCowan or Hatate, someone different out there on the left hand side that you'd trust to keep the ball, because I think when Yang's got it, he's more likely to lose it than keep it and make something happen. And McCowan, Hatate midfield is a bit more kind of safe option out there.
Absolutely. Mick Carr comes in. He's kind of got the same kind of view as you. Kev Young's had plenty of opportunities, not good enough. Just basically spelling it out. Kieran comes in. Montida, get your scoring boots on. Absolutely. Paul Rees, I think, makes a pretty practical point. Yang starting and Palma on the bench for such an important game. Much to do in this transfer window still. That's I don't think many of us would disagree with that. And Patrick James Simpson comes in, nervous about this one. Team's missing too many quality players, and Villa have quality on the bench. I hope it's not another hammering. I think we all share that sentiment. The last thing we want is to see another Dortmund-esque result tonight. But you have faith in the manager, you have faith in the players that's out there, and many of the players out there, we've seen them perform at this level in the Champions League, Sean. So, how do you think Brendan will expect the players to approach this game tonight? Are we going to see, as we've termed the Atlanta-esque performance, or are we going to see something a bit more cavalier? Do you think? What are you expecting to see?
I'm definitely expecting an Atlanta performance if they can maintain that level of focus and intensity they did in the Atlanta game. I'd say we're targeting an Atalanta performance, whether we achieve it or not. On one hand, it's great. We've done our job over 7 games, and theoretically the pressure's off. We've qualified. This is, let's be positive in that sense. We have the luxury of having qualified. So now this is just a kind of marker of a game, and it's not. If we don't do well, we'll just chuck it down to that, right? It doesn't matter. We were qualified. Players had left. Blah blah blah. There's lots of excuses for after the fact, but to this new Champions League format, normally we'd be coming into our last Champions League game, nothing to play for but pride, right? So you could argue there's nothing to play for in the sense that we're qualified, but this is the beauty of this new format, isn't it? It's going to be like a moving target of where we want to finish on this table. So if we go down early and by a couple, then that's going to render that point moot, and we're just kind of watching other games at that point. But it's going to be very interesting, because obviously at the moment our potential opponents in the next round are Bayern Munich or Real Madrid, and I don't see them finishing in the same spot they're in by the end of the night, and I don't see us finishing in the same spot. So I'd be surprised if we've got both of them in the crosshairs by the end of the night. But we'll see. It's going to be a moving target. We're going to be watching that live table throughout the night. It's going to be very interesting, and hopefully we show, with the pressure off slightly, hopefully we show a bit of maturity and mental concentration.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can see the players are on the park now wearing the camouflage strip. We haven't seen much of that actually this season so far, so maybe a wee story in that as well. All that's left for me to say is thank you very much to everybody that's tuning in. We've been over 1,000 strong on the pre-match. Really appreciate that. Hope everybody at Bad with Paul John and a few of the other Acsomers are having a good time tonight, and hopefully celebrating some kind of positive result towards the end of the match. Sean, last word just to get your prediction, sir, for tonight. What's your prediction?
Honestly, I think we'll lose by 2 or 3, but hopefully not.
Okay, well, honest. Got to go with the honesty. Kev, can you turn it around? What do you think?
No, probably not, to be fair. I think Villa's a good team. I'm not expecting us to win this game, but I'd take a... I don't know. I was going to say I would take a narrow defeat. I obviously wouldn't be happy with that. I think it might be a narrow defeat, or we could sneak a score draw.
Absolutely. Well, I think a lot of people are sharing that sentiment. I did go for a prediction earlier in the week of 2-1 to Celtic. I'm going to stick to my guns. I haven't got many predictions right this season, so it could be any sort of scoreline. But yeah, I think ultimately what we want to see is a performance. We want to see ourselves maintain, I think, the respect we've earned and maintained this season in the Champions League. So yeah, let's hope we can take some momentum into the weekend. Anyway, thank you very much everybody that's tuned in. Thank you, Sean Connolly. Thank you, Kevin McCluskey. This has been a Celtic State of Mind, and we'll see you at half time. Hail, hail, and one the hoops.
Yeah, well, one hoops.
Nice one.